Okay, we are rolling. I'm Matt Mercer, and welcome to Law Firm Revolution, where we are going to help you in this series of videos to revolutionize your law practice. Now, these videos for Law Firm Revolution are targeted to three different types of lawyers. Number one, there are lawyers who are very happy or content with where they are. They don't want to change law firms. They just want to figure out how can they create a better flow, how can they implement systems, how can they take things that normally would take 25 steps for their staff to do and simplify it to maybe 1 or 2 steps. How can they create greater joy in their law practice? How can they reduce dysfunction? How can they increase profitability? They want to stay where they are, but they want to get better. They want to turbocharge their law practice and have more free time, right? More quality work-life balance and quality of life. So that's the first group of people we're going to cover in these videos. The second is what I'll call the dissatisfied attorney. Now, this is a great attorney. I'm talking to so many of you who are good at what you do, but the firm that you're with is not a good fit for you. They are not recognizing your potential and what you have to offer. And some of you feel isolated, you feel undercompensated, you feel underappreciated. You feel overworked, you feel that your quota is too high, you're not getting the types of assignments or cases that you want. Many of you just work for a really, really bad boss or a couple of bad partners or just making your life miserable. So that's what we'll call the second category that Law Firm Revolution is designed for. And on that note, we have a Law Firm Revolution mouse pad that you saw the bird with the flying out of the cage. And so for this second category of attorneys who may need to figure out a way to either change law firms, set up and build their own law firm without having to reinvent the wheel, without making a lot of mistakes. That can be a big leap, but we're going to show the second category of lawyers who want to make that change. Maybe you want to get together with some other associates, set up your own firm, be the captain of your own ship, control your destiny, control your compensation, control the types of cases that you get to take on. But on the business side, maybe you're a little bit insecure privately about how to do that. You know, there are a lot of different ways through the forest, but there are simpler ways. And part of my goal is to take you from certain steps that might take 25, you get them down to 1. When we reduce the number of steps in various aspects of law practice and how we manage our files and how things flow, what we find is we lower the number of mistakes and we lower the severity of mistakes. We also reduce stress and increase joy and increase revenue and profitability in many, many, many cases. At Law Firm Revolution, we have over 200 different solutions. Some of them are what I'll call life hacks. Some of them are technology-based. Some of them are equipment-based. Some of them are how do you get everybody on your staff singing from the same sheet of music. Whether you're a lawyer that's a part of a larger firm, you still have an immediate nucleus on your team. Maybe it's your associate, maybe it's your paralegal, your legal assistant. Maybe there's the receptionist if you're in a smaller firm and that person is a part of your team. You know, so often I find when I talk to lawyers that they have some dysfunction. They're in their firm. You've got some people who are singing from different types of music. Some orchestras are playing Star Wars on your team, and some are playing the theme song from Star Trek, and some are playing the theme song from Close Encounters, if you'll pardon the analogy. We want to figure out, first of all, in this video series, Law Firm Revolution, what is the music that everybody on your team should be playing their instruments from. Everybody's got a different role in your orchestra, so to speak. And how do we get everybody doing that in a simple way? Some of the best solutions are powerful but not complicated. Now, I mentioned at the top there were 3 categories of lawyers that are going to benefit from Law Firm Revolution. The first we mentioned, those are the lawyers, those are you folks who really are kind of happy with where you are. You don't really want to move firms. You certainly don't want to try to start a new firm. You just want to make your firm turbocharged. So if coming to work for you in this first category is sort of like having to climb over the mountain every day, you have to figure out a way to free solo or climb a mountain or go the long way on foot around the mountain range. If that's what it feels like, what Law Firm Revolution is going to do, what we're going to do for you with this series of videos, is sort of akin to giving you a jetpack that you could strap on and fire up, and we're going to teach you how to rocket yourself over the mountain. A lot easier than climbing, and get you there a lot faster, and frankly, more fun, right? So that's the analogy. The second category, again, our mouse pad. If you can relate to this, if you feel like this bird wanting to escape from the cage that you are in at your current firm, and you're looking for a how-to guide to get from where you are to equipping and setting up and staffing and over 200 solutions for starting your own practice, this is where you want to be. The third category I haven't mentioned yet, and this is a group, a significant number of you are in law school right now, and you're getting ready to apply for a summer associate position, or you're looking to start an internship, you see graduation on the horizon, you see the bar exam on the horizon, and you're beginning to look at opportunities to work for other firms, to get experience, and then to graduate, pass the bar, and begin working with one of those firms. For those of you who are doing that, I want to give you a foundation with Law Firm Revolution of solutions that may help your transition, will help your transition into working for another firm a lot easier. And many of you are going to come in this third category. Thousands of you are going to come to a place where you realize that when you're having to work 2,200 billable hours a year, that's billable hours. We know what that means, right? 2,200 billable. Your day might have 10 hours, but you can only bill 8. So it's 8 billables. Some of you have 2,200 billable hour per year quotas, some 2,400, some 2,150. You're going to come to a point, some of you, many of you, where you realize that you could be making, instead of this much money for working 2,400 billable hours for someone else, you could be making this much money working for yourself. And for a lot of lawyers, on the business side of things as opposed to the practice side of things, many lawyers are really good, just like doctors, on the practice side. Very skilled in the courtroom. You're very skilled maybe with doing transactions. Very skilled with estate planning. Very skilled doing jury trials or bench trials. But what I have found in talking to many, many lawyers is that the rule is, it's not universal, but often the more skilled you are on the practice side, the lower your skill set on the business side, on the office flow side of things. We see that sometimes with surgeons and doctors, right? And so what Law Firm Revolution is designed to do is to take any one of those first 3 groups that I just mentioned and help them find a way. The end goal is, how do we help you achieve joy in your job, in your profession, in your practice? Joy comes about in many ways. Lowering stress, lowering chaos in your office, lowering entropy. Entropy is your office's tendency towards chaos, right? There's this entropic effect. When you're starting to miss deadlines, staff members aren't in sync, things aren't getting calendared correctly. You're showing up to take the deposition and the court reporter didn't have it on their books because somebody on your team forgot to book it. Lots and lots and lots of examples that we're going to be able to go through in this video series. And we're also going to mention an upcoming book series. Some of the books that Law Firm Revolution is going to produce, we have one right now that we're finishing up. It's a micro book. We call it micro book number 1. And micro book number 1, I'm really excited, is about 25 to 30 pages, but it's just what you need to know about one specific revolutionary topic. Let me give you an example. Micro book number 1 is going to show you specifically how to gain the equivalent of 30 additional days back into your year. And here's the best part. Over and above your current vacation time, over and above your current sick days and your current holidays that your firm recognizes. So I want to show you how to gain. And let me tell you what that's not. What that's not is a cliche where we say, oh, you want to gain 30 extra days? Just start marking days off on your calendar. Take off 2.5 days a month or something. That doesn't work. That's aspirational. but that's not a solution. So what Law Firm Revolution is going to do, we're going to show you with microbook number 1. It's a quick read, and it's coming out very, very soon, in the next week or two. And what it's going to do is give you the specifics on a completely new way of thinking about your time and a specific solution that has an amazingly powerful ability to make your life very simple in regards to time. What we're talking about is if you already take off, say, 5 weeks a year between holidays, sick days, and maybe 2 weeks of vacation a year, I'm going to give you a very specific solution. And when I have shared this solution with lawyers from New Jersey or Louisiana or Boston, and I mention this one solution that I'm going to cover in microbook 1 for Law Firm Revolution, most lawyers say, wow, I hadn't thought of that. That's a great idea. And then they think about it and they're like, gee, it's not that complicated. I don't know why I didn't think of that, but yeah, let me try it. And so here's the analogy. The analogy is if you are in the race of life in your law practice and you're driving a bus, not a very efficient, streamlined, aerodynamic sports car. You're driving kind of a clunky school bus with square or maybe even octagonal wheels. There are corners on your wheels that are making the ride in your law practice rough, not smooth, slow, inefficient, mistakes. And what I want to do is show you how we can put round wheels. Once I show you a round wheel, if all you've ever known in your paradigm, the view through which you're running your law office has always been square wheels, when I show you a round wheel on over 200 different solutions, you're going to be able to say, you know what? It's really not that complicated. Going from square wheels to round wheels, wow, that wasn't rocket science. But what I'm going to hear most of you say is, I had never thought of it. I hadn't thought of doing it that way. And those are the unique life hacks that we're talking about with Law Firm Revolution. Over 200 solutions. And today's video, now with that introduction, I'm going to go into, from our mouse pad, available at lawfirmrevolution.com, you can pick up that mouse pad and sign of solidarity with thousands of you who are that bird wanting to fly from the cage of where you are. Okay, so today's video, we're going to get into specific symptoms of when you may need to be thinking in terms of charting your own course, either to change from your current firm to another established firm, or leaving your current firm to start a solo practice, or number 3, leaving your current firm, that transition path, how to avoid the mistakes, what's the roadmap so you don't have to try to reinvent the wheel, to maybe start a partnership with another associate or a couple of other people. And we're gonna touch on the symptoms today. Okay, let's go into the symptoms now. Not everybody's going to relate to every one of these symptoms, but I know there are tens of thousands of you out there who are going to be able to relate to at least one of these symptoms, if not 2 or 3. Okay, one reason for dissatisfaction in your current law firm is because you have a bad boss. I know that sounds judgmental, but let's be honest. We know what a bad boss looks like. We know when we've got a bad boss situation. It might be one person who just seems to be, it's a partner, and you're an associate maybe, and they just seem to be going out of their way to embarrass you, to condescend to you, to put you on the spot in the hallway where other people may be able to hear, or maybe to kind of subtly call you out in a meeting. And you just sort of feel like you've become their punching bag. Sometimes, worse than that, you have 2 partners who are acting in tandem to beat up on you, figuratively speaking. These folks that we're talking about, their approach can be very different. But at bottom, a bad boss is not out for your best interest. They're not trying to develop your growth and skill as an associate or as a junior partner or as a lawyer. The bad boss is taking their frustration out on you in one form or another. The next category is the attorney who's having to work just way too many long hours. What can become normal for the culture of a given law firm that you're working for, that you're unhappy with, might might not be appropriate or in balance, right? So you go to some firms, and let's be honest, some have a weekend policy. Maybe it's not even directly stated, but it's kind of understood in very subtle ways that you, the associate, need to be there on Saturdays. Now, let's be clear. There may not be a formal policy about having to work Saturdays, and maybe the firm only expects you to work half of every Saturday, right? And maybe it's sort of subtle, right? How do they do it? Sometimes you come in Monday and the partner asks the associates who are standing nearby, so what did we accomplish this weekend? Or what did you do this weekend? One associate will chime in, well, I came in, of course, and worked on the so-and-so report or the case or did some research or worked on the motion for summary judgment or whatever on Saturday. And how about you? Well, you didn't come in. There can be very subtle manipulative ways, but here's the goal of Law Firm Revolution. This, for some of you, seems you can't even imagine a world where you don't work nights and you don't work weekends. What I mean by that is maybe once a year when you have that complex deadline, maybe it's a trial, you might have to work a weekend. You might have to pull some late hours once or twice a year. But the day in, day out systemic practice of law should not involve you working nights and weekends. And if you say, well, you just don't understand my firm. Oh, quite the contrary. I have spoken with so many of you. I know what your firms expect. But the challenge for you is to decide, do you need to fly free from the birdcage, from the gilded cage? Do you need to go to a firm that's going to give you good compensation with more balance in terms of the long hours? And sometimes that means, you're going to hear this a lot, you never thought you were an entrepreneur, but sometimes learning to become an entrepreneur with a step-by-step how-to guide, you will be amazed. I'm going to show you how to go from making whatever your salary is to doubling, possibly tripling, just depending on where you are, your compensation by doing your own practice. I'm going to show you how to do that here at Law Firm Revolution. Now, the cousin of long hours, that expectation that you're there, maybe not Sundays, but that you're there for Saturdays, or most Saturdays, or half of Saturdays, plus nights till 7, sometimes 8 p.m., the cousin of that is a ridiculously high billable quota. What do I mean by that? Look, if you have a quota of 1,800 billable hours per year or less, okay, that's a reasonable quota for most attorneys, okay? If you are with a firm that is expecting you to do 2,000 billables, 2,100 billables per year, 2,200, or, and this is becoming very common, 2,400 billable hours per year. That is not normal. That is not reasonable. Because you know, and if you're a law student, you may not know, but most attorneys know that if you have to achieve 2,400 billables per year, that's 200 billables per month, start doing the math. If you have 20 to 21 working days in a month, that's not working weekends, how long are your days, right? Because not every minute of every day is billable. You know, you're going to have time where you're in a team meeting that's not billable. You may be chatting at the making a cup of coffee. There are lots of things that happen during the day that are not billable. So your days to hit 200 billables a month, 2,400 billables a year are going to be very, very long. It may be normal for your firm, but it is not normal. It is not an acceptable quota. It is not a reasonable quota. And recognizing that as an area of dysfunction, kind of like an out-of-balance washing machine where the towels get lopsided on the spin cycle and you hear a really dysfunctional noise. That's your law practice. All right, let's go to another symptom. Another symptom, maybe your quota's not too bad. Maybe there's not a lot of pressure to work weekends. But maybe, just maybe, when Sunday nights arrive, you find yourself very, very discouraged. In your stomach, you just feel something causing anxiety. You dread Sunday nights, not because they're Sunday nights, because you know you're just within hours of having to go back in to that office politic environment, to that environment that you don't feel supported, to that environment that you're not feeling challenged, you don't like the types of cases, whatever the reason. sometimes that's the only symptom you're going to feel. And if you're having that, you should be having Sunday night, should be, this is great. I'm going to be able to enjoy my Sunday night. I'm not going to be lamenting and becoming despondent just because it's Sunday night. We're going to get you to that point in your practice. All right, let's talk about wrapping up with a couple of other symptoms. First of all, compensation is a very important thing for most people, right? And so one of the other symptoms is that you don't feel you're being compensated fairly for what you're bringing to the firm, for what you're bringing into the firm as far as revenue that you're generating through your work, maybe even originating a little business, maybe not, maybe you're just producing hours and not originating, and that's fine too. There are some that are the workhorses and some are really good at originating business. And law firms, frankly, it's good to have both on the team. But when we're talking about compensation, there is a very interesting phenomenon that the partners know. And if you're an associate, you may know this word. I'm going to share it with you in case you don't. And it's called the phenomenon of compression. What that means is that if you're in a firm that has first-year associates, second-year, third-year, up to, let's say, 8-year associates, normally you would expect that the compensation of the 8-year associate would be considerably higher than the first year. But with this very clever concept called compensation compression, the law firms often will structure the 8th-year associate with all of that wealth of experience to only be sometimes just a 10 grand spread, $10,000 per year in higher pay than the first-year lawyer who really doesn't even know how to get to the courthouse. Okay, what that is normal for some firms. They start the lawyer off at maybe a reasonable level of compensation, but then the associate does not advance with increases in compensation as they go through those years. Okay, the last symptom I want to share with you, and this, again, will apply to many, not necessarily all. It's a symptom of feeling isolated in your firm. You go in there, maybe you like the cases okay, but you notice the partners are all going to lunch with some of the other partners, but not you. You're a partner, but you're not sort of feeling included. Or maybe you're an associate, and this band of associates over here, they're always going out to lunch together. You're feeling isolated. Feeling isolated in your law practice with a firm that you're with is a symptom that your destiny might well be lying somewhere else. Do you dare to listen? That's the question. That's the challenge. We're going to sort of wrap up today's video with, do you dare to listen to these symptoms? Okay? Your body is picking up on these things. You're feeling these feelings. You're thinking these thoughts. You're analyzing this. And I want to encourage you, give yourself permission to think in terms of maybe it's time to revolutionize your law practice. And maybe it's time to think in terms of starting a new beginning somewhere else, right? Your own firm, your own equipment, your own technology, your own cases, your own compensation decisions, your own team, your own folks that you get to hire. What are the steps and techniques to do all of those different disciplines for setting up a law firm from scratch? And we're going to cover that here. Again, we've been talking about category number 2 today. I'm Matt Mercer. Check us out on the web at our growing website, lawfirmrevolution.com, and pick up one of our mouse pads. Join the movement to revolutionize your law practice.